If you're watching this, there's a good chance that you grew up in a family where something just didn't feel right. Maybe there was a lot of yelling or silence or emotional distance, or maybe you had to take on roles too young, like caregiving or being the peacemaker. Today, we are going to be talking about healing abuse experienced in dysfunctional families that happened in childhood. Before we go any further, there's two things I want to say. Firstly, you don't have to relive everything to heal. And secondly, anything that you are about to hear does not mean that your caregivers were all bad. In many families, parents were doing the best they could with the emotional resources they had at the time. And at the same time, the impact of growing up in that environment was still very real. Having said that, what happened to you still happened and it mattered. This video is about you, is about your nervous system and about your healing. Hi, I'm Jill. Welcome back. I've been a psychotherapist for over 25 years, and this channel is where we unpack how childhood trauma, dysfunctional family dynamics can show up later in life in, such varied ways, such as anxiety, people pleasing, emotional eating, or even finding yourself in relationships with partners or friends who have narcissistic traits. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found your way to us. A dysfunctional family isn't defined by how it looks on the outside. It's defined by what happens emotionally on the inside. In these families, emotional needs can often be minimized or ignored. Children can be blamed or silenced or parentified, where they have to take on the role of parenting the parent. Love can feel conditional, or conflict can feel unsafe or unpredictable. And reality might be denied or even rewritten. Most children assume this is normal because it's the only normal they knew. But your body often knew something wasn't right, even if no one named it. When you grow up in chronic stress, your nervous system adapts to survive. Your body may have learned to stay hyper alert in fight or flight mode, to be mobilized for whatever was going to happen next. Or maybe it shut down emotionally, almost being immobilized. You can also end up people pleasing to avoid conflict. And where people pleasing happens due to trauma, it's known as fawning. Or you can freeze when overwhelmed, even while appearing functional from the outside. These are all trauma responses, not personality flaws. Your body learned what it needed to in order to keep you safe. If this feels familiar, stay with me and I'll share some practical and simple tools with you shortly. Many adults from dysfunctional families struggle with chronic self-doubt, guilt when setting boundaries, feeling responsible for other people's emotions, having difficulty trusting others or themselves and their own opinion, or they can repeat unsafe relationship dynamics. And this isn't weakness, it's survival repeating itself until it's understood. One of the first steps in healing is naming what felt unsafe without minimizing it, not comparing it, not explaining it away. And you might try this journal prompt. As a child, what felt confusing, unsafe, or silencing in my family? Trauma isn't about what should have hurt, it's about what did. Healing doesn't start with understanding, it starts with safety, feeling safe inside. And to do that, I'm going to show you a quick breathing technique. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. And then blow out through your mouth for a count of 6. Now you can repeat that several times. And I would ask you to say, I'm safe in this moment. I'm safe in this moment. And that tells your nervous system, I'm here and I'm okay. These small moments of safety create real change. They retrain your nervous system. That's why they're so important. Inside you are all the younger parts that didn't receive what they needed. So, you, when you were 2 and 5 and 10 and 15 and 20, healing means becoming the adult that those parts can trust. And to do that, ask yourself, what did I need that I can offer myself now? Maybe you needed to be heard. Maybe you needed to have your thoughts and feelings validated. And that's something you can do for yourself now. Just dialoguing with yourself. This is called reparenting, and you don't have to do it perfectly. It's just about starting and just about being present with what you need that maybe you didn't get. If you grew up in a family that was dysfunctional, boundaries can be terrifying and guilt inducing. But boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. And boundaries could sound like, replying to somebody who's perhaps being aggressive towards you and saying, I'm not available for that. Or if things are getting heated in a conversation, I'm just going to step away now. Or maybe it's a neutral firmness that might sound like, I'm not explaining my choice. At first, boundaries can feel more stressful than people pleasing. But if you gently tolerate the discomfort, it does soften over time, I promise. And even small boundary changes make a difference. Healing often includes grief, grieving for the childhood you didn't have and the safety you deserved but didn't get. Progress doesn't mean you're never going to be triggered, but it means that you can recover faster, that you blame yourself less, that you trust yourself more. And if healing is feeling messy, you're doing it right. So you're not weird or broken, you just had to adapt. What happened to you mattered. And healing is possible at any age. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this resonated, please feel free to comment or to explore the other videos or like and subscribe. It helps this work reach the people who need it most. Now, next week is a corker. Next week, I am going to be sharing with you the 9 questions a narcissist cannot answer and what that reveals about them. So until then, take gentle care of yourself and know that you deserve healing. You deserve to feel safe inside. Look after yourself. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.